Dude on Mead TikTok followed me on TikTok because of the
Really?
the Mead thing I put
Oh
up.
yeah. Some dude came in today. He's like a country guy. He's like, "Hey man, I'm trying to make some mead."
What
It's like, okay.
Hey, man.
It was a version of Scott Likens,
Um,
and he was like, "I saw it on TikTok."
it's because people are finally making good mead. This isn't your Renfest swill from 20 years ago.
That's a fair point,
It's a fair point.
honestly.
I don't want to talk about meat. Dude.
Yeah.
We're singing Happy in my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. I am John Ronayne. I am joined on this fine February evening by my co-hosts Michael Moeller
Hello.
and David Satterley.
Woo!
We are the Louisville Ale Trail, and we kind of just get together once a week and spill the beans and spitball about each other's lives,
Is that what we're doing?
about the world in general. It's like to, it's nice to have a time to check up with you guys and see how you're doing. If you'd like to see how we're doing, you can see the video version of this podcast on our Patreon. Is there any clever way to plug that?
I don't know, but I was told not to look at my phone the other day because on the video I do that a lot. So I making a conscious effort not to look at my
Yeah.
phone
Fair enough.
this time.
All Patreon contributions go directly towards John getting therapy for spilling the beans and checking up on us.
Or
It's,
chair-
it's
or-
an ongoing process. Or new chairs.
Or new chairs.
that sound is a chair.
Yeah.
So patreon.com/Kentucky Commons.
So we've talked a little bit over the past couple episodes just about Louisville's growth as a beer city, and especially over the past few years of COVID, it's like, where does the time go? Holsopple is 5 years old.
It's timeless.
It is timeless, just like Sam's beard and just like his whole countenance and whatnot. Is that guy like 26 or is that guy like 50? I can't ever tell. He's eternally young. But the brewery has turned 5, which I can hardly believe.
Yeah, I remember talking to them right before they opened over 5 years ago for the podcast I used to do, which is actually this podcast.
Yeah.
If you go back, if you scroll through enough episodes, you'll find that one. But yeah, that is Linden's Brewery.
Yes.
Linden is a neighborhood in Louisville, kind of on the outskirts of the major metro part of it, I guess. But it's still a big part where people live, work, and play.
Yeah.
I want to say it is the equivalent to like Monarch in Germantown.
I very
for
much
Linden.
Yeah.
In some aspects, I guess. It is definitely more of a neighborhood spot, though. But yeah, they've been open for 5 years. David, you want to talk a little bit about maybe what they're releasing this week to celebrate?
Yeah. So ever since I think maybe the second anniversary, they've gone big into barrels for this release. They don't do a lot of barrel age releases throughout the year. I think that's going to change soon because they've acquired a little bit more space and they're developing that program further. But one thing that kind of always look forward to with the anniversary release is their Big Hand Stout.
Their big ham stout?
Yeah, it's actually rum ham,
White
and
milk.
other adjacent. If you can't tell because of my mumble, I said Big Hand Stout. It's been pretty cool. The label's kind of neat. Like the third year they did a hand with 3 fingers. I think this one's got the whole hand because of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a big barrel aged stout. They do variants on it. They crowler it. It's a lot of fun. They normally have a couple bands come out and play, so that's kicking off, I guess.
Today, actually.
Yes.
So by the time this episode comes out, it will have already happened. Hopefully those variants are still around. Who knows? I do remember a couple of years ago that they had the bacon variant one, the maple bacon, I think.
remember that.
And they had a slice of
ham.
Yeah, it all connects.
but they had a slice of bacon coming with it. It was
It's like Bloody Mary
It's
style or
delicious,
whatever.
yes.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Holsopple's great, not only for their beer, but you made that comparison to Monarch, and that's always felt very true to me. Like Linden has a lot of kind of like there's like a Linden vibe or whatever, but Holsopple, it seems like they do such a good job of supporting like the little Chamber of Commerce out there and community events, and they're a great event space. They have concerts like every couple weekends at least, it seems.
Twice a
And
weekend.
they got that great ass parking lot, and
They
they're
have
good
food
neighbors.
now.
They
Yeah.
have food trucks. They
They have food now.
there.
Yeah. Shout out Twin Spires Pizza at Holsopple. Yeah, it's one of those things though where I'm just like, first of all, it's stupid to say because everything in Louisville's 10 or 15 minutes away.
Right.
Holsopple is about 15 to 20 minutes away from me. If that wasn't the case, I'd be going there all the time because
same here.
it's so good. And like I always just need to like go out of my way to go try it.
Yeah, it's worth it every time.
Yeah,
like,
really,
I've never had a
really
bad
is.
years.
They crush it.
So Sam, Christy, you guys are freaking fantastic. Louisville's lucky to have you guys, and all the team over there is just great. Everyone I've ever met or talked to is just super fantastic and super fun. So cheers, congratulations, and we love you very much. If you guys have never been to Holsopple, this is a perfect opportunity to go out and try a little bit of Louisville history in the making, I guess is how I would describe that.
I mean, they've been open for 5 years.
That's pretty significant.
established.
That's about half the time as Against the Grain's been open. So
Yeah, I mean, that's nuts, too. That blows my mind.
Shout out the neighborhood.
Shout out the neighborhood.
shout out to Lyndon.
Shout out to his family. So questions like, we were talking about Louisville beer history. There's another kind of connection between a newer brewery and a little bit of Louisville's kind of, what would you say, like beer terroir or beer, a ghost of beer past coming back. Anyway, Hometown Craft House, Hometown Pizza Brewing Company, which they just rebranded.
Hometown Pizza Craft.
I think
Brewing.
it's just Hometown Brewing Company, and then they are housed at Hometown Craft House.
Got it. Yeah. So just in case you guys were confused, they're releasing the Cumberland Red. This is a beer that was originally created at Cumberland Brewery on Bardstown Road, which is now the Public House by Against the Grain, which I'm sure still does a great red ale. The guy who made it is now the brewer at Fall City, which does. Who made the Cumberland Red? Wasn't that Cam's recipe back in the day? Oh no, I'm saying Fall City does a red ale at some point throughout the year.
We're not talking about Fall City.
Oh yeah, not again. They've got enough.
No, like we're not though. So
The rails.
But the recipe is now living on.
Stop. You're blending into your next personality. We have to slow down.
All right, I'll let you guys take the story.
now, David, why don't you tell the story?
I was 6 years old when this beer was envisioned.
Okay, so Cumberland opened in 2011, I believe. Established 2011.
It sounds about right.
In the Highlands neighborhood. It was one of the OG breweries around. It was so many of the people that we know in the industry now got their start there in one way or the other, whether it's brewing or just serving beer. And it was in a lot of ways how people found out about IPAs and red ales and things beyond the domestic yellow water that we know.
Yeah, talking about the neighborhood breweries like Linden and Holsopple, this was
the Highlands
Brewery,
the
Brewery,
Bardstown Road spot.
Cumberland, and then you had BBC downtown, and like Michael mentioned, so many brewery owners today spawned out of those two places.
Yeah, and I would just say that the Cumberland Red Ale that they produced was probably one of their most famous beers.
Yeah, people still ask for that recipe like to this day.
Exactly, and I guess Hometown's connection is that they received the brewing equipment.
Some of the equipment came from there, is my understanding.
Yeah.
And then also one of the guys who helped set up that brewery was the in-house quasi brewer at Cumberland for a little while, right before Hometown Brewing opened their doors, or as they were opening their doors.
Yeah.
So the recipes migrated. It's all kind of like commingled and cross-contaminated.
But it's being Phoenix from the ashes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're kind of making it as an homage.
No, it is supposedly not just an homage, but I think it is the recipe of Cumberland Red.
Well, Mike, in my opinion, a recipe is about so much more than the ingredients. It's about a time and a place and a community of people. But so they're taking their recipe and they're bringing it into their kind of culture of beer, into their rotation.
Which I love because
I do too.
I mean, I love the folks at Hometown, but I feel like this is their first. They've been around since in the last 2 years or so. I feel like this is their first big release, like something that they're hyping up and trying to get people to go to. And I think it's worthwhile. Like, I think whether you're new to just having a red ale because nobody makes red
I was
ales.
about to say,
exactly.
It's a red ale.
Well, sure, but
just in time for St. Patrick's Day.
But so here's my theory about all that is that as the brewery scene in Louisville and around the country grows, everybody's making hazy IPAs, everybody's doing sours, everybody's doing big stouts.
Oh yeah,
there is a place for the classic styles to exist still. And not just like classic German styles, but just like red IPA. When was the last time you drank a red IPA?
That we've talked about in a few episodes here. It's like those kind of just like simple, good, clean, well-produced. I'm not, historical, quasi-historical beers. They're kind of making a little bit of a comeback. There seems to be more interest in just like simple. David Sato is like, I don't like simple beers. I like whatever.
I like fruit pastry.
But you like an English mild too, or like a nice.
I don't like English mild.
Whoa.
A nice like Cumberland Red Ale. How about that?
I've never had it. I was 7 when they first made it.
So that's another just, I don't know, what my point that I was going to make, I lost here a second ago. But
You can't wait to go sit next to 60-year-old men and slug down.
we went to hometown during one of the baseball or basketball games during the season, and it was popping.
I go to
It's a
hometown.
great little spot over there on Preston.
Yeah, on
People were
Sundays.
hyped. People were having fun. It was a huge, like, hugely diverse crowd because I was kind of expecting it to be like the old Preston Street, Preston Highway, Parkway Village normies or whatever. And I think it probably was, but I think that this neighborhood is just getting a lot more diverse every year as Louisville grows. And
Good try, Cumberland. Call me back when you have a peanut butter marshmallows.
So
Why don't we do that? with
hometown,
them?
if you're listening, Louisville L Trail wants to do a collaboration beer with you, and it might be based on a breakfast pizza beer.
Little brekkie
Little
in my
brekkie.
beer.
Yeah.
Brekkie beers.
So anyway, all that is to say, it's really cool to see new breweries paying their respects and keeping alive some of the classic beers that made Louisville beer in the first place.
I'm here for the tradition.
Yeah.
And
And a
for
good
the
beer.
red-
If
and for the red
if you're somebody who's like never had a
I've never
Killian's
had
Irish
it.
Red,
No, I've had a Killian's.
so if that's your reference point of like a red ale,
You're gonna have a good time.
yeah, no, Killian's is kind of nasty. Come try like a good, nice, well produced, not overly caramel malty, not over crystal malty sweet, blah blah blah.
There's 2 things I don't do well: officiate pool tournaments and drink red ales.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for one of those.
And
to
I'm
change.
all out of pool tournaments.
That's right.
Yeah.
One of those has got to change. I've got to do better.
So another fun thing that we had kind of come through our pipeline this week, in addition to seeing all the cool promotion of the Cumberland Red, we had a interesting and thought-provoking. That's at least how I felt. We'll see what you guys think. It was either an email or a DM kind of come to the Louisville Ale Trail account from a traveler from Maryland. Is that right?
Maine.
I thought Maryland.
I got the receipts.
Anyway, from somewhere up New England wise, saying, hey, we're coming into town for a bachelor party or for my
who knows?
friends, whatever. We're doing a Louisville visit. Can you guys recommend a few places, or what do you guys recommend that I do while I'm in town? So instead of just giving flat answers, a little bit of a dialogue.
God damn it.
Were we right?
It's Maryland.
That's fine. Maryland, Maine, it's all the same.
Third thing I don't do well: geography.
That's fine. But that kind of just made me think, how do I figure out if I'm going to a city I've never been to before? Like, let's say I'm going to somewhere in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
How do I find Lansing? That's in Maine, right?
Michigan.
I was trying to play on his geography.
Anyway,
I'm spatially disadvantaged.
Yeah, it's fine. We shouldn't. You're right. I acknowledge you. So how do you, if you're going
Did
to
you
a
learn
city,
that in therapy?
yeah, that was something my therapist taught me.
I hear you. I
I
understand.
hear you. I understand. Lansing is in Michigan, and Goodwood did not win the pool tournament last week. How do you guys plan a beer trip to a city you've never been to? What are you going to do in a new city A? And if you guys are anything like us, going to at least a brewery or two is probably a part of what you want to do on a good vacation. What resources do you exploit? What information guides your action and your dollars when you're visiting a new place? And you guys both travel a lot more than me, so
I love to stay at the YMCA.
it's fun to stay at the YMCA. Young man.
Okay, well, I tend to consult people first, just in my own circles. I will ask, hey, I'm going to be in this place. What are the can't miss breweries? And then after that, I probably consult Reddit. But then there's a different flavor of once you're actually there, when you're at that first brewery that somebody tells you to go to.
Then you're kind of...
Especially now during COVID, where people aren't traveling as much. So the places that have existed, 3 years ago, landscape has changed a little bit. So maybe there's a new spot that opened up in the last few months that somebody else hasn't really known about. So that's when you start asking the bartenders, once you land somewhere, hey, what's nearby? What can I go to? What are the newest breweries? When I was in Denver a couple of weeks ago, one of my points for that entire trip was, all right, I go to the same 5 places when I go to Denver. Where have I not been? What's open in the last 6 months?
Yeah.
And then that was a very helpful
So wait
question.
a second. Are you saying the best way to get information is to have human-to-human interactions with people?
Yeah, either that or pick up a local trail guide
Hey,
of some
that's good
sort.
too. That's a human to human
You know,
interaction.
a
just through
good
medium.
passport program is usually going to help you figure out where to go next. Too.
Yeah.
It's also very fun to stay at the YMCA.
Yeah.
But bartenders
especially if you're short on your dough.
Yes. The bartenders are an absolute wealth of information when it comes to being out of town. I mean, you stop in one brewery, you have one conversation, you've instantly got this network. In most places, I guess. I would reckon that Louisville has that. If you go to any brewery in Louisville, they would give you a
steer you well.
pretty solid recommendation. I mean,
Some
of their recommendations have been like buy a Louisville El Trail passport. Some have just been written down on receipt paper, but either way, you get a couple ideas for where to go.
You always make the good point too, is like, if somebody asks you that question, there's really no like, go here.
No, there's no, you can't.
Because every brewery's different.
circumstantial.
All tastes are different. Do you like hazy? You always explain this in the best way. You know, what do you like? What are you into?
Yeah, I always go back to what are you looking for? You know, do you want a sit down experience with some food and a couple of beers? Do you want to go in and have something unique and experimental or one off? Do you want to try traditional English styles? Or, you know, there's always a scenario.
Yeah.
Do you want a red ale?
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want a red ale?
I don't actually, but
Do you want to meet hot local singles?
I know where to go. I know where to go for that too. The internet. But yeah, it always comes down to what do you want to do? You know,
Do you want atmosphere? That comes into it a lot. Like,
Sure.
do you just want a cool place to hang
Sure.
out and just enjoy the scene, or a good, porch beer or something? I mean, it all depends on what you're looking for on what day it is.
do you want to have trivia?
Do you want to have tacos? Do you want to have a burger?
So here, I'm going
Do
to
you
plan
wanna
my
sit
next
under
beer
a
vacation, and
pergola?
you guys can tell me if it's good advice or bad advice. So let's say I'm going to go to somewhere I've never been, like Charleston, South Carolina. And what I would probably do would be to not really even think about the breweries that I want to visit until I kind of figure out what else I'd want to do. Do I want to go to like a history museum, or do I want to stay in a historic neighborhood, or do I want to go to some convention that's in town? Then find a place to stay, and then maybe find 1, 2, 3 breweries that are like in walking distance of my hotel. Find one that seems decent, and then go there and drink beer and just talk to people and figure out
That's
where I'm
one
going
way
next.
to do it.
That is sure. I mean, I think anybody that tastes like or follows along with beer culture, beer scene, they probably have a couple larger brands in name or more recognizable brands.
Yeah.
You know, so you start there. So, I mean, for example, in Michigan, it's like, okay, I'm going up there. I should stop at Speciation, make great wild ales. Probably just going to ask where to go from there.
Yeah.
I would also say that if I'm planning a big trip, if I know I'm going to be somewhere for a while, one of the things that I do, whether it's beer or points of interest or anything, is I take in all that information, because sometimes that's a lot. Like, you can't hit everything up, but
Totally.
I'll input it into a Google map, and then I'll say, okay, hey, I have a second. I'm hungry. I want a beer. What's nearby? So then I pull up that curated Google map that I've created, and I say, oh, this place is 2 blocks away. I already was recommended it. Let's go.
That's great. That's really good advice.
So anybody that wants to go to Austin, Denver, New York, Portland, Brussels.
Although I will say, if your plan is to come to Louisville, it's very easy. Just shoot an email to Louisville Ale Trail.
Yeah, that's what we do anyway.
Info at LouisvilleAleTrail.com, or slide into our DMs and let us know what you guys want to do. Michael has given us a note. We were talking about traveling. This is a beer. We're trying some beers.
We did. We got some beers delivered via vehicle to us.
Definitely not shipped.
Definitely not.
They would never do that.
And these were hand delivered.
hand delivered,
Somebody walked 500 miles. Somebody walked 500 more.
and they probably stayed at the YMCA. But
Or Cambria Hotel.
or Canberra. No, we had some friends in town for Louisville Beer Week last year in October, and they
Is anybody wearing their Beer Daddy's shirt?
No
I
Beer
wore-
Daddy
damn
shirt
it.
today.
I wore it last week. They have a brand out of Charleston and Richmond, Virginia, I guess, and Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yes.
See, there's always a plan.
There's always a plan.
Yeah.
Called Work for Your Beer. They're beer, fitness, health. You're like, are they not from Charleston? Go ahead.
No, keep going.
Come on, no,
It's too late at this point.
I need it.
We've already been over the geography.
Let's look at where these breweries are.
I need the answer.
Do we want to look at where the breweries are?
I'm afraid.
It's Charlotte.
Fuck.
Same thing.
Fuck.
Same
It's
thing.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a different state, different city. Yeah, it's nearby though.
Anyways, for their 5-year anniversary.
Hey, if somebody said like Louisville and they meant Lexington, I wouldn't be mad.
All right.
Wouldn't be too mad.
Well, their names are Mel and Alicia.
Mel Alicia.
They are from Work for Your Beer.
This is the worst plug in the history of podcasting.
It's not a plug. We're
It's not a
drinking.
plug. It's just we're drinking their
We're
beer that they
drinking
sent
it.
us.
Yeah.
You know, they just celebrated 5 years with their organization, and their entire point is actually kind of clever. It's, hey, in addition to beer, here are some different opportunities to, you know, mind, body, spirit, like a YMCA, if you will, better yourself.
This episode is Kentucky Commons Radio Hour.
Sponsored by the
Sponsored
local
by-
YMCA.
You want to get a Patreon shot if you can?
Yeah, let's just take some photos live on the podcast here. But yeah, they just celebrated 5 years, and they're also doing a bunch of collaborations recently. So, David, why don't you tell us about the IPA that you just opened?
All right. This beer is called Fitness Beer in Your Mouth. I think I can do that. It's a collaboration with Devil's Logic Brewing out of what I'm assuming is Charlotte.
Probably.
Probably. It's an IPA.
It's Schenectady, I think.
My favorite thing about this beer is it says drink fresh or go to hell. And I think we got these in early January, so we might be going
Freshish.
to hell.
There's a
Purgatory.
picture of I see a picture of a devil looking thing with a barbell on it.
Yeah.
Like working for your beer.
He's going hard. I like it.
What's the ABV on this?
It just says hell.
It's
no.
nice and light. To me, it smells very nice and light, almost session-y with a nice kind of little
6.9%.
All right.
light grapefruity.
I feel like that was intentional. Mel and Alicia.
69.
Yeah. Fitness beer in your mouth. Got it. Thank you.
We tried to do a beer recently and tried to make it 666, and we were told we couldn't do that.
Mhm.
We won't say who did that, but
It's fantastic. It's great.
yeah. No
Is it a
complaints.
hazy IPA or is it just a regular IPA?
It's just
This kind of comes across as a regular IPA.
Yeah.
I like it though. It's floral.
Yeah,
got
it's
a
very
little bit-
floral.
little bit of bitterness.
And the other two beers that we got from them were Unbelievably Annoying, created by Divine Barrel Brewing out of Charlotte and in collaboration with Work for Your Beer.
Hell yeah.
And then also Apricot Wheat of the Queen City series from Catop.
I always struggle to pronounce that word.
Oh yeah, look at me. I don't know something for once. Yeah. Ooh. Why don't you tell us about it, David?
Smart guy.
I would say Quataba.
Catawba.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, okay. In collaboration with Work for Your Beer. Ale with apricot, orange peel, and coriander.
Sounds delicious.
Catawba.
We'll drink through these as we continue along the topics.
I like that can too. It's cool.
It's a cool can.
Cool can. Some of these feature Mel and Alicia on the cans.
Yeah. Good for them.
So well done, guys. Cheers to 5 years of being in business. You guys are incredibly successful, and we loved having you in town.
Yeah,
so
it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you all for visiting Louisville and drinking beers with us.
come back anytime.
I said we'd only talk about the Lord of the Rings trailer if it came up organically. But wait a second. Since we're talking about it, did you guys watch that Lord of the Rings trailer?
I'm not a fucking nerd.
Did you see any of the controversy surrounding it? So, Lord of the Rings, classic, genre-defining novel.
Is it a classic if it came out in like 2002?
The book!
The book.
The book! Wait, Lord of the Rings is a book?
It's a book.
Yes, by the great J.R.R. Tolkien.
And the Hobbit actually came out first, if you're not
Yeah.
familiar.
Well,
That's
Harry
right.
Potter is an audiobook. I know that.
Harry Potter has a couple great... Oh, the Lord of the Rings just got a new audiobook rendition from Andy Serkis.
Did Stephen
Who
King
did
write
Gollum?
those?
Oh my lord. All right. So anyway, there was a new series getting dropped, and it's been controversial since like it was first conceptualized. It's being done by Amazon. So Amazon is spending more money on this. It's like 4 or 5 times as much as the budget of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, it's
for
one,
one season.
It's one of the most expensive shows ever made.
It's insane.
If not the most expensive show.
And
Are they hiring Captain Kirk? I mean, is that where they're going with this?
well, the casting has been one of the other controversies. So the first thing that I heard about with like people getting upset on either side is that they had like I don't know how you would phrase this, but they had like a intimacy coordinator that they hired. So then everybody was like, well, what does that mean? Are there going to be like elf love scenes? Are the elves going to be effing? Like, that's not what Tolkien's vision was. And everybody's like, oh, they're just going to turn this into some political trash. So that was the first argument. And then they said that it's going to be, they're going to have multicultural representation. There's going to be all sorts of different races represented in the wide land of Middle Earth. Some of the people on the far right were a little upset that they had a black person as an elf and a dwarf. Other people were upset that it wasn't like hearkening to the traditional like reimagining of England's mythology that it should have originally been. Other people were probably just mad to get points on the internet for whatever reason. I was mad because the trailer
outrage.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was upset that the trailer kind of looked like dog trash.
Yeah, the CGI. So I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I love the books. Love the Hobbit book. Years ago when the Hobbit trilogy came out, I was mad. It was awful.
Yeah.
It's terrible CGI, practical effects were taking out.
And they did go for that like Hollywoodization.
And they totally did. And,
inserting like a love triangle.
And I can only hope that it's just the CGI effects not being rendered out completely for the teaser trailer that happened over the Super Bowl. But the CGI in the trailer that we got was awful looking. That being said, still very excited about it. You know, if you haven't read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, you should.
Or listen to the
also check out the Silmarillion, because that's like a good.
That's what
history.
A lot of the source material from this thing is.
You know,
if
you want to get like the Old Testament of Tolkien, that's the way to do it. It's very like lineage focused and kind of boring. But if you're a nerd about that kind of stuff, check it out, especially if you haven't done that before. I will also say that if you're a big South Park fan, check out the most recent episode of South Park and figure out why Tolkien is actually named Tolkien.
Okay. You've piqued my curiosity. I will absolutely check that out. So anyway, the other thing that's silly is just like nobody's even seen the goddamn show yet, and people are mad. So I'll put us in that camp too.
So are we doing a Tolkien beer at some point?
Yes, we have to. Yeah,
like a rings of.
We have a recipe that we do in the shop. Our Black Rider Black IPA.
That's controversial.
It is, well,
according to the trailer.
Well, a lot of it is controversial. There's a couple of like quotes where he says like anyway, you can argue about Tolkien and ethnic diversity as much as you want. I'm not very interested, and I think it's cool that like other races get represented other than the ones that were traditionally represented in Norse mythology, because we don't live in the year
1099.
Yeah, exactly. We live in the year, according on which calendar you want to base it on, like, let's say 2022.
Well,
or in the years of like the years since the Fourth Age, whatever the hell that would end up being.
I live in year 3 AM. That's 3 years after the Mayan calendar ended.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is the birth of the new...
Was that like 2012?
Quadrahexacycle or whatever the heck. Yeah, that was when it was all supposed to come crashing down.
10 a.m.
Man, they might have not been far off. They might have just like missed it by a couple of years. We're really being honest.
It was a slight miscalculation. But on a lighter note, we did open the apricot wheat that we mentioned.
It is a lighter note.
It is a lighter note. From Catawba. And this this is a Charlotte exclusive. It is very good, very apricot.
Lansing.
I think they're all hanging out at a Pink Boots Society conference right now. And I think our friend Kinsey from Highwire is there with them as we speak.
Yeah,
the Pink Boots people do good work. That's a cool organization.
Yeah, just episodic Highwire shout out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for.
Gotta keep the trend.
Yeah, this is great. Nice apricot notes. You guys have anything else on your radar? Anything in your personal calendars that you want to plug? Any birthdays coming up? Any?
My mom's birthday is coming up.
Oh yeah. Well, shout out to David's mom. You've made a fine product, Mrs. Satterley.
Yeah.
We hope you don't shut down any tap rooms anytime soon. You're producing good stuff.
I don't have much else to say. This is a great apricot thing. Fantastic. We also have been enjoying La Bamba from Gravely, their Mexican lager, during podcasts as well. Otherwise, get into red ales. Red ales are cool.
Yeah, we'll be at the hometown Cumberland Red release to eat some good pizza, eat some good breadsticks, and drink a whole pitcher of Cumberland Red Ale all by myself.
I guess we could
Just
throw
like the
out-
good old days.
We could throw out the Tailspin's coming up.
Yeah, that's a good plug. Tailspin Ale Festival 2022, which is their 9th year. Maybe we'll release the audio on our Patreon here too, just if people are interested. But you can also find that all across all of our feeds.
We can post a video.
Yeah, we can post a video. That's right.
So we sat down with the organizers last week, got a little inside. They're great friends of ours, but it's always good to hear it straight from the horse's mouth about what they're excited about this
Fall
year.
City is a horse.
Fall City
is a horse.
On the radar, Fall City is doing an 80s week, which has some pretty cool theming to it. I won't go too much into it, but you should check that out. And aside from that, we've got Mile Wide coming up with the Hurricane Sour. This is a new one. This is something they haven't done before in their Fruited Sour series. So I think that's going to roll into like a Mardi Gras. Probably going to see some green beer coming out for St. Patrick's Day soon. Just, the usual.
We'll have to do a special St. Patrick's Day episode maybe next week or something.
Can't we just drink Old English every episode?
Yeah, and we'll all have Irish accents. Can you
Irish
guys do
Red
that?
Ales. Irish
Oh,
Red.
hello, lads. Welcome to the Kentucky Commons Radio. I think that's getting into Scottish.
I hate everything about this right now.
Speaking of cultural appropriation, regardless, last thing I'll plug is our Patreon. If you guys are listening, leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. That helps us reach new people and helps promote the story of Louisville beer that we're trying to tell. Or if you are somebody who really enjoys your podcasts with video or just enjoys some kind of ridiculous swag packages, or David Satterley story times, check out our Patreon. We'll put all the links to that down below. We really appreciate all of you guys listening and all the good correspondence and feedback. We had some good actually audience reactions to our last week's Fall City episode. We'll maybe get that over. Say again. You want a 5-star review? Michael says don't just leave a review. Leave a 5-star review. That seems like a
Seems like a stretch.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I think I'm a 5-star man.
Yeah. And anyway, thanks for sticking around and listening, guys. We'll see you all again next week. If you all see any beer topics or anything you'd like to see discussed, or that you think we might have missed out there in the wide, wet world of craft beer, shoot us a DM or an email or a message or what have you. And we'll see you all again soon.
Can't wait to talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer coming out in Disney Plus at some point soon. So.
That's going to be a whole mess.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
Here we are.